Good morning. That is a beautiful Arizona sunrise. And as I pan around here, you can see the sun coming up over the desert here in the Valley of the Sun, the Phoenix, Arizona metro area. Let me turn this camera. How are you doing? You're my hiking partner for today. This is 2 coffees to go. And again, we're down to just 1 coffee because the wife, she did not want to come out hiking today. It's summer in Arizona and it's going to be a hot one. Yesterday we topped out at about 112 degrees. Today we're cooling down all the way to 106. So I had to get out really early. I was on the road before the sun was up, and I drove to another part of the Phoenix metro area. I live in one part and I came out to another part, and you can see if you look over here in the distance, I don't know how well you can see it, but there is a freeway over there. And I guarantee that the people driving on that freeway have no idea that I am standing in an ancient Hohokam agricultural field. How awesome is this? I want you to look down here and you can see this retaining wall that's right here. It's not easy to make out, and there's a lot of them here, so I'll find a better example here in a minute. And obviously over the years it's been scattered, but this is a Hohokam agricultural field, aka an agricultural grid. And we're going to take a walk. Let me step over this rock wall. There's a lot of loose rock here, and you can see I come over here, we have another low rising rock wall here. Easy to step over, thankfully. And if you're really eagle-eyed, let me step over this one. You can see that as I walk even further, there we go. Here's another one. So I'm gonna walk around and find some really good examples of these agricultural grid retaining walls. And we'll talk a little bit about what they are. And I'm not going to give you too many clues. Here's another one here as to where they are, but we'll talk about what they are and who they're from. So stick around. It's 2 coffees to go. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick it up, but if you look in front of me, there's a whole series of low-lying rock walls that make up these Hohokam agricultural grids that I am standing in. And if you're wondering what that is, well, let me give you kind of just a heads up. The Hohokam were the people who inhabited the Phoenix metropolitan area long before it was called Phoenix. They were here from about 750 AD to about 1450 AD, and then they slowly started to disappear. Most people believe that the late 1300s, early 1400s was a time of severe flooding, severe drought, severe famine here in the desert. And of course that created a lot of infighting amongst the different groups of people who lived here. And as a result, the population slowly started to decline. And the remaining peoples that were here in 1450 moved up north to the deserts. To the mountains from the deserts. So down here in the desert, they were living here during a time when there was, before the flooding and the drought, a tremendous amount of water. I'm not too far from a river. I know I have a freeway on one side of me and a river on the other, and that's kind of all I'm going to tell you about the location that I'm at. Because for a couple reasons that I'll get into in a few minutes. I just don't want to give this area away because it is so special. But they lived near water, and they built these irrigation canals, and they were master agriculturists. I've said that in previous videos. That just means they're damn good farmers. They knew what they were doing, and they knew how to grow crops, and that's what they lived off of primarily. And one of the ways that they grew crops was through agricultural grids. So sort of little squares in the desert that they would divert water to, and these squares were defined by the rock walls that you're seeing in front of me here. And what they would do is these rock walls would retain water, and they'd also help keep out some of the pests. Now, they look pretty low lying right now, and you know, looking at them, it's like I can step right over them, which is what I'm doing to not step on them. So why can't a rabbit just hop over it and eat the crops? They may have been a lot higher back in the day. I can almost guarantee they probably were. And inside the grids, they would grow. Oh, here's a good example of one right here. Let me get out of the shade. And you can see this square right in front of me, starting over here, going along the back, and then coming over here, and then that front wall. So inside these squares, they would grow crops, and one of the primary crops that they grew was agave. And so in these areas where you find these low-lying agricultural grid walls, you also found a lot of agave roasting pits, because agave was a source of both food and drink. Drinking the sort of agave tea, if you will, was very common for the Hohokam. And this is how they would live. They did hunt as well, smaller animals from, you know, rabbits and whatnot, but they were, again, master farmers, great agriculturists. And what we have here in Phoenix, not in Phoenix city limits, but within the limits of the Valley of the Sun, Metro Phoenix, there's this field that you can check out. Now, I believe it is on public land. Coming here, I did not cross any private property signs, no trespassing signs, no barbed wire fences. I was just able to walk in. If I find out that I was mistaken and I'm wrong, I will let you know. But as far as I know, you can come here and visit them. I just don't want to give the location away because it's such a fragile area. If you look, here's a good shot of it. That's a Jeep path that was not in this area 5 years ago. So someone who had no idea that these agricultural grids are here just decided to drive their Jeep or four-wheel drive through here and destroyed 700-year-old history. And that's a real shame. So I'm being a little more private on the location than I normally am, simply because this area is so fragile. It's in the Phoenix Valley, and I don't know, there's one other area that I want to go visit after we're done here. There's some nearby ruins. We're going to go visit the nearby ruins. Then we're going to go visit another area that may have agricultural grids as well, but not nearly as big as the ones that we have here. And aside from that, I don't know of any other areas in the Phoenix Valley where you can find them. I know if you head out east to eastern Arizona to the town of Safford in Graham County, they have a lot of the agricultural grid fields out there as well that you can see on Google Earth. But being in the Phoenix Valley and seeing them, yeah, it's a very rare sight, and so we have to protect these sites. So if you know where I am, if you were able to deduce where I am, please come here and only be respectful of this site. This is ancient history, no prehistory, so before written record. There's no books describing what was going on here from the people who lived here. All we have are these runes, these grids, petroglyphs, just whatever sacred materials we can find in this area. So it's up to you to come here and be respectful. All right, let's go check out some runes. I mean, these are ruins, obviously, but I mean like a habitation site that we're gonna go see that's in the area that I've been to before. And then we're gonna go to the other location where I think there might be some more agricultural grids. Not too sure, but we'll find out. All right, it's 2 coffees to go. I hope you're enjoying this adventure. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stick with me because there's lots more to come on this adventure today. So on my way back to the car, I crossed the southern edge of these agricultural fields, and I came across some really well-defined rock walls here. So if you're looking right here, this is kind of the cross section. I'll back up so you can see it a little bit better. And you've got the rock wall that comes over to the right, the rock wall that goes off into the distance there, down and to the left where my shadow is, and then up as well. So that's a really good cross section of these agricultural grids. And if I turn, now that the sun is coming up a little bit more, and like I said, I had to get out early because it's going to be 106 today, you can see these low-lying rock walls a lot better. We're gonna follow this little wall here. It makes a little square, and inside of it is yeah, where they would have grown agave or other plants that were used by the Hohokam people that lived in this area before European settlement. So going back to about 1300 is when I think this field dates to. All right, let's keep walking. Let's get to those ruins. We'll check them out and see what else we can find. We are almost back to the ruins and almost back to where I parked my truck, but walking through the desert, I came across this beautiful saguaro that unfortunately she's seen better days. She looks like she's on her last legs here. You can see one of the branches down here on the ground, another one over here on this side. And it's blossom season. Late May is when the saguaro blossoms. The state flower of Arizona is the saguaro blossom. Don't want to get too close because those bees, they love the saguaro blossoms. But you usually don't see them this low and down to the ground, but they are a beautiful flower. And try not to get stung showing them to you. That's the saguaro blossom, the state flower of Arizona. All right, let's get on to the ruins. Well, if you consider rune hunting a sport, it's not the only sport being played out here in the desert, as I found 3 of these in very close proximity to the rune site that I'm at. Here we go, a Hohokam rune site, unprotected, located within the Phoenix metro area, the Valley of the Sun. Let me put these golf balls down. I'll take those with me on the way out of here, but let's walk around and see what we've got going on here. Well, Phoenix is the 5th largest city in America, and I'm not in Phoenix proper. I'm in one of the suburbs that I believe is in the top 200. Here we go. Here's a nice look at this rock wall. The outer perimeter of this pueblo. So the city that I'm in, the suburb of Phoenix, is in one of the top 200, possibly top 150 biggest cities in the United States. And we have these unprotected ruins from 700 years ago. Let's get a little bit closer to the rock wall without stepping on it. Oh yeah. This is your outer perimeter wall. And again, the Hohokam people were here in the valley from 750 AD to roughly 1450 AD before their population declined due to a number of debated factors. Gonna walk along with, I think this is the west wall here. Barrel cactus growing out of it. And how did I find these ruins? Well, there's a mountain, a small butte not too far from here. I'm located between 2 subdivisions, 2 housing developments in the Phoenix area. And they surround this butte that I wanted to hike at a few years ago, back when I was really into peak bagging and hiking as many mountains as possible. And I used to log all my hikes on this website for hiking in Arizona. Oh, here we go. There's some nicer rock walls up here. So I logged my trip to that butte, and I was reading some of the other trip logs that had been cataloged from this area, and they mentioned ruins in the area. Here we got some clearly defined rooms right here. This was a habitation site. And they even said that you can find some of the ruins on the topographic map. Oh yeah, this is probably the best part of the ruins right here. So I went onto the topo map, and what do you know, I found some ruins, but the ruins that I found were on private property, but I knew there were more in the area, so I started scanning, and that's when I found these ruins. And I've since subsequently found more information about them. Ooh, we got some nice walls over here. Let's walk this way. We found a little more information about them, including a common name that they go by, and the fact that they are watched over by some of the businesses that are in the general area. Come around this tree here. Ooh yeah. All these rocks, that's not a rock field. Those are rock walls making up this rune site. And I did visit this rune site once before after finding it on Google Earth. And I also found the agricultural grids on Google Earth as well, but I had no idea what those were until recently when I was doing some research about runes out in the Safford, Arizona area, and they mentioned agricultural grids that are out there, which I mentioned when we were up at the grids. And I found those ones out in Safford, the agricultural grids out there, on Google Earth, and said, hey, they look exactly like the place that I saw on Google Earth a few years ago out by that rune site in the Phoenix metro area. And unfortunately, in the years between when I first saw the agricultural grids on Google Earth and today when I finally came out to visit them, I can see that there's been evidence of people driving over the agricultural grids like I showed you when we were up there. And that's a real shame because they probably don't even know what those are. They're just driving through the desert, seeing rocks laying on the ground, and without a care in the world on their Jeeps or ATVs or whatever, and ancient history is gone because of it. So if you're out driving in the desert, stick to the maintained roads that are there, because you don't know what you're driving over. There's so many runes in this state. What is this? That's modern. Yeah, modern ceramics. So yeah, this is not an unknown site. I'm just not giving away the name or the location just because of how unprotected it is and how close it is to the rest of the Phoenix Valley. So you're gonna have to do your own research if you ever want to come out here. But this is a very nice rune site to check out. Come out, enjoy it. Don't climb on the rock walls. Don't take any pottery, although I don't see much out here despite it being a habitation site. And you know what they say, leave no trace, the wilderness code of ethics. All right, well, let's see if we can make a couple more stops within the valley and see what other ancient archaeology we can find. Okay, I came back to the entrance to the Pueblo here at the southern perimeter wall, and this appears to be where most of the pottery is. I said I didn't see much. It's all down here on the southern side of the Pueblo, and of course modern visitors have been here and taken some from where they found it on the ground and placed it on the rock here. It was a nice piece, nice colorings, the black bands on the side there. Not too much of it, but this seems to be where most of it is located, on the south side. So again, every rune site is going to have a rock that looks just like that, where modern visitors have accumulated pot shards. That tends to be where I touch the pot shards. I try not to pick up the ones that are embedded in the ground. I always look for the rock where someone else, I guess, has done the dirty work. All right, my truck's over there. Let's go take a ride. Well, I thought I was on to something, but the game of rune hunting is not a perfect game, so we had a miss here. I drove downstream from the rune site and from the agricultural grids that I was at because I saw on Google Earth what looked like another area with agricultural grids, much smaller, but I got out here and I'm just not seeing much of anything. I can look on the ground and I can see, yeah, there's some river rock down here, and I can go over here and say, you know, if I squint a little bit, this kind of does make it a kind of a straight rock wall here, but I'm not seeing the right angles. I'm not seeing the clear evidence of the grids. So I think I'm going to chalk this one up to wishful thinking. And that's kind of what happens every once in a while, but no disappointment because the grids that we did see, that I definitely confirmed, they're awesome, they're amazing. The runes that we saw, they're always awesome, always amazing. I'll walk around here a little more, and who knows, maybe I'll stumble onto something, but I think the second leg of this trip, we're gonna call it a bust. So this is 2 coffees to go. If you enjoy our videos, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment below and join us on our next adventure.